Thumbnails is our service that is all thumbnails all the time. So if you're a creator and you have great videos and you don't have a lot of experience making thumbnails and you don't want to make thumbnails, this is the service for you. We have a team of graphic designers led by one of our strategists making sure that you have the best thumbnails possible for the kind of video you're making. We have a lot of different pricing packages. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, definitely check out monsterthumbnails.com. And with that, let's talk about the algorithm. And we're gonna do so with this. As a quick primer, when we're talking about the algorithm, we're talking about a set of recommendation algorithms, which means they're not really here for creators, they're here for viewers. When you log on to YouTube, the algorithm uses information it has about you to determine what kind of videos you might be interested in. Because if it gives you videos that you'll enjoy, you're much more likely to stay on the platform for much longer. And if you stay on the platform for longer, you are much more valuable to an advertiser. As a creator, YouTube's algorithms don't really care about you one way or another. They care about the viewer because that's what creates advertising revenue. To that end, the algorithm isn't really thinking about promoting anything or demoting anything. It's really thinking about what to give to a viewer. So let's talk about what you're giving to your viewer. So let's pretend that this is your video, this Kit Kat right here. If you've been following this series on YouTube for beginners, you've put it in a lovely package. It's a very appealing thing in itself, and you've mentioned what it is. It's kind of like a chocolate crisp wafer thing. I guess it's a wafer. There's like a wafer cracker in there. Yeah, crisp wafers. So you have this chocolatey crisp wafer snack that you think a lot of people will really enjoy, and you go ahead and upload it to YouTube, which is sort of like this. Except honestly, this really doesn't sell the scale of how many videos you're being uploaded with. If this were a to scale model and the Kit Kat was your video, we would need about a planet's worth of candy. And I don't mean like the planet's supply of candy. I mean like a planet that is just candy kind of scale. This is called the video corpus, and this is a massive body of videos that the algorithm is going to draw from when it recommends videos to a viewer. It's a lot. There's a lot to take in. Some of that stuff's similar, some of it's very different. There's a lot going on. So how is YouTube taking this and creating a homepage where your video winds up in front of other people? This happens on the viewer side, and it's called candidate generation. What happens is we're going from this massive corpus of videos and we're getting down to a smaller, but still very, very large list of videos that might be of interest to the viewers. So in this case, let's say we have a viewer who logs onto YouTube and they've mentioned that they like chocolatey things. Well, we can start to sort some of this stuff out pretty much right away. The lollipops, you know, can get out of here. Let's say by past experience we know that they don't like coconut, so we're just going to expel almond joy. Do they like peanut butter? Let's say no. So we have some other things that kind of meet the criteria. So based on the kind of viewer we have, we are going to generate out a smaller body of content that are potential candidates for like the home page or search page, whatever. It can look a little bit different depending on where you are on the YouTube platform. For example, if you're searching, it's sort of like if you said, hey, give me everything that's chocolatey. Whereas if you're on the home page, it might be based on what you've had in the past. But either way, we have this smaller subset of candidates that we're going to put in front of a viewer. Again, there's a lot of space limitation though. If you scroll down forever, you might get to these eventually, but you can only put a few options at the top, which are kind of the prime real estate spots. So at this point, we're looking at the viewer and their viewing habits, and also people like them in case we don't have a ton of information. So depending on what candidates we have, we might be like, yeah, these had kind of a low CTR amongst people like this, so we're not really gonna worry about those for right now. This one's a little bit older. The other videos on here are fresher. So we want to go with that. Speaking in video terms, I'm pretty sure all of this candy is well within its expiry date. And then based on what's kind of remaining, we're going to rank them into an order that we think is best for keeping somebody on the platform. Which doesn't necessarily mean that it's like the 3 most likely videos at the top, although that's a pretty good guess. Let's say that this person really, really loves M&Ms. And I only have so much space to show. Like, yeah, I have 3 M&M packs here that I can put, but that pushes everything else down, and maybe they're not in the mood for M&Ms. So I'll put one M&M for sure at the top, but then I'll put in a few other variety things just to kind of gauge what their mood is here at the start of their viewing journey. So the algorithm is now going to present its platter to the viewer and show them and say, hey, got all these lovely treats for you. So at this point, your viewer's going to pick one, and let's say it's yours. Hooray! So they've selected your video, And this does a couple things for us data-wise. First off, if anyone very similar to our viewer comes by, your video is now understood to be one that viewer appreciated. So anyone like them, it stands to reason that they will also appreciate this as a choice. You're much more likely in those type of viewers to make it into candidate generation and much more likely to be ranked amongst people like that. It can still be tough because, again, we're dealing with like this in terms of videos, but having a data point about who kind of likes our videos helps us cut through this noise the next time that a similar viewer comes by. It also sends back data about what this viewer didn't pick. So, hey, presented with these options at kind of the top ranked, they didn't pick these ones. Now, obviously this can happen for a bunch of reasons, and not being selected one time isn't like a death sentence. Like, it's not like get out of here, mince forever. That was probably very loud. You can come back from one person not picking up your video, but it does mean that your CTR is going to be lower than if the person did click on it. So all of that data is going to be recorded, and then basically everything goes back to the corpus until it has to do it again like a third of a nanosecond later. If we understand these basic principles, it can tell us a lot about our channel and what we need to be doing to make our channel as good as possible. For instance, it can explain to us how we can expect our channel to grow. So in our first instance, maybe our viewer picks out of this subset. But there are some common through lines with this and other candies. So we have one viewer who had really specific desires, and we were in that ranking list and we pick it out. Okay, what about a viewer who's similar but not the same? So their recommendations might look like this. You know, instead of blank M&Ms, we have peanut M&Ms. You know, it's pretty similar but not quite the same. We get picked out of this again. It's like, huh, there is some variance in the people who like Kit Kats. So let's try it with a little bit wider audience than just M&Ms and Snickers. So we get an Almond Joy, Milky Way, and you're in here. We get out to a wider audience now. It's like, okay, let's say they still pick Kit Kats. It's like, oh man, even in this other different wider audience, the Kit Kat's still being picked. Let's go even wider. So as you keep succeeding with slightly different viewers, you're going to be expanded out into a wider audience that has a bunch of different preferences, until eventually you're going to find audience members that were never really into Kit Kats at all. They want the Dum Dums lollipop. So once you get out of that wider audience and people start picking other things off the platter, YouTube's going to go, okay, we've kind of hit like the widest audience that this thing goes for. We're starting to get into people that aren't really interested in this thing. Let's calm it down. These are things that we can extrapolate out from Google white papers, and they logically follow. So that tells us a bit about how the audience for our video grows when there are so many videos to choose from. And it also can explain to us the importance of having really clear metadata and a really clear value proposition. If somebody goes, man, I'm in the mood for something that's really chocolatey and crispy, that's a Kit Kat, that's your video. So having packaging and titles and tags and descriptions that makes it really clear what you are makes it much easier for YouTube to connect you with your audience. This is why using deceptive tags and titles never really works out for you very well. Let's say that you think that fruit candies are more popular, like that suckers are the most popular thing out there. So you label your Kit Kat as a lollipop. Okay, you do that. This is a lollipop. Somebody comes onto the site and YouTube happens to know that they really like lollipops. But let's say you successfully index yourself as a lollipop video. Well, a viewer who's interested in lollipops is going to see this. If you're into lollipops, what do you think are the chances that this person's actually going to pick a Kit Kat? Not very good. Even if lollipops are more popular, if somebody's looking for lollipops and YouTube knows that they like lollipops, being in here doesn't help you because you're going to be up against actual lollipops. They're going to choose those way over yours. So what's going to happen is they're going to pick this, or they're going to pick this, or they're going to pick this, and YouTube's going to see that nobody's picking this, and they're not going to keep recommending it. Can't really find an audience. Meanwhile, somebody says that they want something that's chocolatey and crispy, and your video is listed as a lollipop, so it's not even going to be in that candidate generation. What's chocolatey and crispy here? I guess an Almond Joy and peanut M&Ms. Maybe they pick Almond Joy. Somebody was forced to eat an Almond Joy because you didn't label your Kit Kat correctly. The other thing that's important to keep in mind about the algorithm is that each user's individual history matters to them as well. So if somebody chose your Kit Kat before, YouTube's going to say, hey, that creator gave them something that they really liked. So the next time you put something out, they're much more likely to see it. which can create an interesting issue when your next video is a Twix. So a viewer who's watched one of your videos in the past and really loves Kit Kats comes by to YouTube again. You have a new video out, so YouTube's going to put that into their candidate generation, along with a bunch of other stuff, including a Kit Kat that somebody else uploaded. So you again have a ranking system that's set up, and surprise, surprise, that viewer is here for Kit Kat, so they choose the Kit Kat again. If we have a bunch of viewers like that, suddenly your new video isn't getting selected by the people who have been your audience in the past. YouTube's gonna go, this isn't really working out with their audience that they typically have. That's pretty weird. We're gonna kind of stop showing it to people because we don't really have a specific audience for this. And sure, some people like Twix and they're going to come to your video because they like Twix, and now those people are in your past watch history, as are the people who liked Kit Kats. So some combination of people who like Twix and some people who like Kit Kats is kind of seen as your audience. So what the heck's gonna happen when your next video is a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup? Do people that like Twix and Kit Kats like Reese's Peanut Butter Cups? Maybe some of them do, but a lot are probably just going to find more Twixes and more Kit Kats. Meaning that you've basically created an audience of people who wants one thing and then you keep serving them different things. This is called audience fragmentation, and it's what happens when you do a bunch of different things, one after the other, after the other, after the other. Because now you have people that like Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. When you upload the next thing, who's YouTube supposed to even give it to? We have people that like peanut butter based candy, people who want chocolatey crispy things, people who want Twix, which I think is like a cookie. Where would we even send it? It's hard to say. What's the click-through rate gonna be? Which of the audience members do we serve this to? How many do we serve it to? We're not really sure what this channel is and who really likes it, because it's really inconsistent with who does and doesn't enjoy it. YouTube's actually been playing around with this in what they've been calling loyalty metrics, which we don't have yet, but it sounds like we should be getting them eventually, as well as some metrics on churn, which we might not get, which is basically people who've dropped off your videos. It's really, really powerful if we can produce things that people will always come back for and always choose. And while what we choose specifically matters, like there's probably more people that like Reese's than like Almond Joy, just because coconut's kind of a odd flavor cell in candy. That's my hot take. Some choices are probably more popular than others, right? Like informally at our office, Almond Joys are just not tremendously popular. But I would rather have one channel that can produce over and over again Almond Joys consistently, because you're gonna set yourself up for a consistent audience who knows what you're producing and who likes what you're producing, and you'll demonstrate to the algorithm that you work really well with this subset of people, so they'll know who to show it to, and it'll work consistently well every time. And because you have that consistency in performance, YouTube will over time find more like-minded people who like that thing, and you'll be exposed to more and more and more people. Understanding the YouTube algorithm is pretty much as easy as understanding giving people candy. You start with a massive subset of candies, you narrow it down based on what you're pretty sure another person will like, and then based on what they pick, you emphasize the things that they like and avoid the things that they never seem to pick. That's more important to understand to YouTube than it is to you, but if you understand that, you can take advantage of it by setting yourself up so that you can consistently demonstrate that you are the best with this kind of person, and YouTube will handle the heavy lifting of finding people like that who will enjoy your video and click on it. If you're just starting out on YouTube, you don't need to be an expert in machine learning. You don't need to be a master of statistics or math or know exactly the mathematical functions of the algorithm. The best, most important thing that you can do for your YouTube channel is to create something that's quality and consistent so that people know what they're getting into and YouTube knows what to expect in terms of who's going to like your video, so that you can skip having to go through all of this and just connect your audience with the thing that they're going to like. So as a beginner, that should tell you everything you need to know about how the algorithm works specifically. Much more important than knowing this specific wording quirk or this specific time quirk, it's much more important that you just create and deliver on a consistent, super awesome value proposition. And if you do that, you will be way ahead of the game. With that, thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos on audience development and the algorithm over here. If you like this video, be sure to leave a like to let us know that you liked it and want to see more like it. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Little Monster for more videos on audience development every single week. See you next time. I really liked 100 Grands. I'll eat it after I record this, but I am I am going to eat it.